Today's episode is an interview with Longhaul Paul, also known as Paul Pelland. He's a New Hampshire man with multiple sclerosis. Longhaul Paul combines his passion for riding motorcycles with his story and life experiences to help other people and make a difference in the world. I invited Longhaul Paul to be on the podcast because he uses his voice as a patient advocate and educates audiences about MS. He also entertains audiences with world record-breaking feats that raise money for MS charities. You're listening to the Pharmacist Voice Podcast, a journey-style podcast about my career change from pharmacist to voice actor. I'm your host, Kim Newlove. I alternate solo shows and interview shows. The solo shows are about my career change, and the interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate, educate, or entertain. Thank you for joining me for episode 21. Let me give you a little more background on Longhaul Paul, then we'll dive right into the interview. Longhaul Paul is on a million-mile journey chasing the cure for multiple sclerosis. Fighting an often devastating and debilitating diagnosis the only way he knew how, Longhaulpaul Pelland is truly riding for his life. He's attempting to document 1 million miles on a motorcycle as he raises awareness and funds for multiple sclerosis. As a patient advocate, he shares his story at MS educational events and fundraisers. As a long-distance rider, he presents entertaining and motivational seminars for motorcyclists and the general public across the United States. He organizes annual motorcycle fundraisers and writes for Ability magazine. Over the last 7 years, he set 3 world records, rode 400,000 miles, and raised over $180,000 for charity. Without further ado, here's my interview with Longhaul Paul. Welcome to the Pharmacist Voice Podcast. Longhaul Paul, how are ya?
I'm doing great. It's a Wednesday here in New Hampshire, and we don't have any snow left on the ground. So I think spring is officially here. So yeah, I'm having a good day.
Awesome. Well, can you tell me, how did you get the name Longhaul Paul?
Well, about almost 20 years ago now, I was entering into long-distance motorcycle endurance competitions. And after I had done some crazy stuff, I realized how much I really enjoyed riding, and I developed a little web page to kind of show off my rides in different places I've been. And we found the URL Longhaul Paul was available. And so we decided to choose that. And so I've been kind of Longhaul Paul since then.
Can you tell me a little bit about your advocacy work?
Sure. So 20 years ago, when I started doing long distance riding, I began to compete. And after a couple of years, I was able to actually ride in some of the very big rallies in the country. And one of these rallies is a 11-day, 11,000-mile ride called the Iron Butt Rally. And it's really the Super Bowl of long distance motorcycle riding. And it's not about speed. It's more about planning. It's more about planning a route and picking up bonuses all across the United States, and then showing up at a checkpoint without being late. But anyway, in 2003, I had entered the event, and halfway through the event, I started to have some issues with my hands. And I had bouts of confusion. I had memory loss. I was really experiencing something that after the event ended, it was a short while later, but I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And when I was diagnosed with MS, everything at the time that I read was telling me that, I would be disabled. I'd be in a wheelchair. I would, not be able to continue doing the things that I enjoyed in life. And so I sold my motorcycles. I had a small business. I sold my business. I kind of planned for MS to take over my life and just, destroy everything I wanted to do. It was a pretty powerful diagnosis. And at the time I was a single dad. And so it was just a lot of stress and a lot of stuff that I had to deal with. Well, about 5 or 6 years went by, and I went on treatment for the MS. I started taking a disease-modifying therapy, and there's a whole mess of them out there now, which is awesome. We when I was diagnosed, there were 3 injectables, and but I went on one right away, and it seemed to work. What it does is it slows down the progression of the disease, and so after a few years, I realized that, hey, maybe I didn't have to give up all those things that I really love. And I decided to get back on the bike and get back into riding. Once I started riding again, I realized how much I missed it, how much I loved it, how much riding made me feel the joy and the power of riding a motorcycle. To me just is therapeutic. And so a few years had gone by, and I wasn't doing any competitions. The MS has really made a dent in my cognitive issues. So I have a lot of short-term memory problems. I get lost in the parking lot. I sometimes can't remember my address and things like that. So trying to do routes and plan bonuses and stuff like that is just impossible with MS. But I could still get on that bike, and in 3 days I could be across the United States. And I realized how much I loved it, and I decided I wanted to try to find a way that I could give back to other people who were newly diagnosed with MS. And, I tried to figure out some way to maybe do a fundraiser or something I could do to help others. And, I'm like, the only thing I know how to do is ride a motorcycle. So I said, well, what can I do? And at first I wanted to see if I could ride 100,000 miles in 1 year and do it as a fundraiser. And I talked this over with a couple of charities groups, and they said, well, that's awesome, Paul. What are you going to do the following year? And I'm like, oh boy, yeah, they said, you need like a 10-year plan or something to create. And then that's when I came up with the idea. Well, actually I was at an MS patient educational event that are put on by the pharmaceutical companies all across the US. I was at one of these events, and I heard Wendy Booker, who's a mountain climber. And Wendy has climbed the 7 summits. And she has MS, and she talks about her struggles and things. And I just thought it was such a powerful story. It made me want to go out and try to figure out something that I could do that could make other people feel that same feelings I had when I left that room. And I certainly can't climb a mountain. I can't. The only thing I know how to do is ride a motorcycle. So there was a doctor who said, he was answering a question from somebody in the audience that was just diagnosed. And they said, do you think we're going to have a cure, anytime soon? And he said, I'm sorry. He says, but, honestly, I think a cure for MS is 1,000,000 miles away. And I said, okay, right there. That hit me. And I said, you know what? 1,000,000 miles is far, but it's not impossible. You can ride 1,000,000 miles. I could ride 1,000,000 miles. I could try, and that's where I came up with my plan. And my goal, and I started in 2012, is documenting 1,000,000 miles, all for MS. So I jumped on my bike. I went and got, witnesses, and I started riding to MS events and fundraisers all across the United States, all on my motorcycle. And so I'm documenting 1,000,000 miles for MS. That's what I'm doing.
It's almost like your own personal Iron Butt Rally, but over years and years. No, seriously, for anybody that doesn't know, the Iron Butt Rally it's almost like a scavenger hunt. Would you agree with that?
It is a scavenger hunt on steroids, is what I would say. Yes, it's there's 100 riders that start out, and these are some of the top riders in the world actually that compete, and they're all these are not your typical people that you think of when you think of motorcycling. They're wearing space suits and the top best helmets and the best gear, and their bikes are fine-tuned, and they have all kinds of computer equipment. And the goal is to minimize the amount of miles and maximize the amount of points for going to obscure locations all across the US. And the options, there's so many hundreds of options on each leg that no two riders, unless they're actually riding as a pair, no two riders go to any of the same places because there's so many choices. And so you think you've got a great route, and you show up at all these bonuses and you get to the next checkpoint and you find out somebody else went to two places and got way more bonus points than you did. So it's a game, but it's a lot of hard riding. You get to see a lot of the United States that most of us have never even heard about. Some of the most incredible places. I've seen the world's biggest ball of twine and the biggest cow, and in somebody's backyard, I think in Nebraska, is the world's only butt kicking machine. And it's some contraption some guy built in his backyard, and it becomes a bonus at one of these rallies. And you just go there, take a picture of it to prove you were there. But it's an incredible event, and it's there's thousands of people that try to get in. It's held every 2 years, so it's there's a lottery to get in. So it's a privilege just to be able to ride it. So it's something that is not too many people have ever heard of it or know what it is, but the name gets a chuckle. But iron butt, it means that you're in that saddle, you're sitting there for 18 or 20 hours every day for 11 days straight, and all for a plastic trophy and bragging rights. So it is fun. I mean, it's an amazing event, and it's one of those life things that I'm happy that I was able to do it. I did it twice. I rode in 2 iron butts, and some of the best experiences in my life came from riding the iron butt rallies. So to me, it was a huge part of my life that I can't do again. So, but I'm privileged to know that I was able to do 2 of them. So
much respect to you. But instead of going from coast to coast and all around the country on a scavenger hunt, what you're doing is you're kind of on a scavenger hunt for speaking opportunities to advocate for MS awareness. And the prize kind of is getting those donations for charity.
It is. I decided when I first started this that I didn't want people to donate money to me. My expenses are pretty substantial to be on the road. Well, with the coronavirus, it's a little different, but I typically will spend 180 nights, 200 nights a year in hotels, traveling. The last few years have been between 60 and 80,000 miles each year on the bike, going to either MS events where I am speaking, or I also do presentations at motorcycle rallies. I do seminars about how to pack, what to bring with you, how to fix stuff on the road. I've always done all my own repairs and things. And so people are always fascinated how I can jump on my motorcycle, not even check my tire pressure, and ride from New Hampshire, where I live, all the way to California, and not worry about all this stuff. And it's because I know what to pack. I've been doing it for so long, but I enjoy giving those presentations. I also do, I don't know, I don't really like to call it motivational speaking, but I do presentations to larger audiences and different corporations and things. I've done some for a lot of pharmaceutical companies. One of the things that happened in my life that has really been a huge impact and inspiration to me was actually the first iron butt rally that I rode in. It was 2001, so we're going back almost 20 years, and I was a fresh newbie long distance rider, and I had heard about this rally, and I really, really wanted to be part of it. And I didn't get picked. I didn't get picked to ride, and it was so depressing because I was in the middle of a bad divorce and custody issues and all these things, and I just wanted this event to take up so much of my time and mind. So what I did was I knew that there was only 100 riders, but they had a couple of spots they would always leave open for people that rode weird or just old antiques or weird bikes or just things that didn't make sense. And so I said, well, if I can't get in on a normal bike, I need to find something that they're going to allow me to ride the rally in what they call the hopeless class. And So I looked around and I found that there was a couple of motorcycles that were known as the most unreliable, undependable, can't get out of their own way, pieces of junk motorcycle. They break down on the day you buy them on the way home to your house. I mean, they're known for this. So I said, you know what, I'm going to ride. And so I chose the Ural, which is, now I will say, if you ride a Ural, I did have some fun on it. And today the Urals are a lot better than they were 20 years ago. But anyway, I offered to ride a Russian-made Ural motorcycle, which was basically a bad copy of a BMW from 1940. And these things were made out of, aristocrat coffee cans and baling wire. And they were imported and they had drum brakes and they had, they didn't have electronic ignition. They didn't have even electric start. I mean, it was just very, very old, beat up motorcycle that's usually, usually ridden at 30 miles an hour in the field somewhere in Mongolia. But so I offered to ride the Iron Butt Rally on a Ural. And I got a letter back and it said, "We think you're an idiot, but we're going to let you in the rally." And at the time, I had never even seen a Ural. I had never ridden one. I just read about them, how bad they were. So I had to find one. And but anyway, I wrote the manufacturer, the importer, Ural America at the time. I said, "Hey, look, I'm riding one of your bikes in the Iron Butt Rally. Can you guys support me? Can you sponsor me? Can you help me out?" And I got a letter back from the president of Ural America, and it says, "We're sorry, Paul, but nobody in our office thinks our bike could finish." Talk about a red flag right there. So I ended up, buying a Ural myself and trying to get it outfitted and ready for the rally. The rally's every 2 years, so you find out over a year in advance that you're going to be in the next rally. So I had a year to prepare, and I did all kinds of things to the motor, and I spiffed it all up and made it all, made the engine so it had more power and dependability, and it broke down. I ended up seizing the engine on it during a test ride. And so I called back Ural America and said, "Hey, everybody's watching me now. Everybody knows I'm doing this. Can you help me?" And they did help me. They sponsored me. They gave me a brand new bike that had a brand new, bigger engine. And it was some, great big secret. That bike I started the rally on, and I went 400 miles before I blew up the first engine.
Oh, geez.
I ended up going through 3 engines. In the 11 days of the rally, I broke down over 30 times. I had to make engine parts in a hardware store. I crashed on the highway because part of the steering fell apart, and the whole bike just started doing wig-wag down the highway, and it fell over, and I slid down the road. I didn't get hurt or anything, but I had to patch the bike up. I broke down so many times, and every time somebody was there to help me. Somebody stopped. I had a state trooper that stopped in Arkansas, and this is after I had crashed, and the bike's laying there. There's oil all over the place, and he says, "What you gonna do?" I says, "I think I'm gonna fly home. I'm done. I don't want to ride anymore." He says, "No." He says, "Why don't you see if you can fix it up?" And he stayed there and helped me fix it. Watched while I fixed it up, made sure I was safe. And then I realized that the engine had lost all its oil because there was a big hole in the side that I had patched. And he said, I said, "I need some oil. You think you could get a service truck, maybe a tow truck could just come up to give us some oil on the highway?" And he goes back to his cruiser, comes back, and he says, "No," he says, "they want too much money." I says, No, I don't care. I'll pay $100 for a quart of oil right now. I'm about to get back in this rally." And he says, No, don't worry. He says, "I called my wife at home. She's going to go to the store, get 2 quarts of oil, and meet us up here on the highway."
Oh, that's amazing.
So, just incredible. And that's what happened. Those 11 days, I broke down a couple of times every single day, and somebody was there to pick me up, to help me, or I figured out a way to finish. And I dragged myself and that bike across the finish line, and nobody thought I had a chance of finishing. Nobody. And what's amazing is today I use that story to explain to people what it's like to live every day with a chronic illness or disease or disability. It's like that motorcycle. You know, your body may not be as strong as everybody else's. You may not win the race, but just because you have a disability, just because you have a chronic illness or problems in your life, just because you have all this heartache, doesn't mean that you can't still get across that finish line. Doesn't mean you can't still go through life and enjoy and have have love and have enjoyment and do things. And so I use that story of the piece of crap motorcycle, the biggest piece of crap motorcycle in the world's toughest motorcycle rally. I use that story, and people that do not know anything about motorcycles or don't know anything about MS even can understand a piece of junk, a Model T in the Indy 500. They get that story. And because I broke down so much, I took great notes and pictures. So it's become an incredible story that I use to talk to people with MS. I use it to talk to people about overcoming, challenges at work or overcoming problems at home or school or all these things. And so I use that story, the Ural. It was an incredible part of my life that I didn't realize at the time would become a way that I could reach people and explain to people what it's like to go through life with a disability or with a chronic illness, and how you're still worth something. You're still able, you still have value. You still can get across that finish line. You're not going to come in first, but you know what? You can still get there. You can still do what you want to do. You might be slower. You might have to work harder, but you can still do it. And that I've used that story just to pick myself up and get myself back in the saddle and start riding again. Yeah, I can't do Iron Butt again. I get lost. I leave a gas station. I've been driving all day on the same highway. I leave a gas station. I have no idea if I was coming south or north. No idea. And I'll look at the GPS and I won't even trust my GPS, which is why I have 3 of them, because my brain just plays tricks on me. So I know I can't do Iron Butt rallies, but what I'm doing to me is just is awesome. Because I have a disability, or I don't even call my MS a disability. It's a chronic illness that gives me some issues now and then. But because I have MS, I'm able to fulfill a dream. I'm riding a motorcycle. I say for a living. I'm not quite making a living, but I'm riding a motorcycle as my career. This is what I'm doing. I'm able to help other people, and I feel so good about speaking to others and meeting other people. So I get so much out of what I'm doing, and I'm getting to do what I love. And it's all because, I had these things happen to me in my life. And I think we all need to find something, today with everything that's going on in the world and the worry and people are just, they're fatigued, and everybody's on edge and tired and worried about, we just heard there's going to be a run on chicken. We're not going to be able to get chicken this week or something. I don't know. But everybody's so worried and stressed out. I think we all need to find something that we love to do, something that makes us happy, even if it's thinking about something. I like to ride motorcycles. I'm on my bike all the time. I haven't ridden in 4 weeks. I haven't even gone in the garage. I'm afraid to, because I might drive out and never come back. But but I think about it. I'm planning my next trip. I'm trying to work in my next opportunities to speak. I'm trying to get some things on the calendar so that I can continue riding. But I'm working on my passion. I'm thinking about my passion every day. Even if I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about it, and that makes me happy. Remembering that I'm going to get back on that bike and I'm going to be back in that happy place. And that's something that, keeps me going. And I know we all need to find something. Not everybody's going to go out, buy a motorcycle, ride it all over creation. I know that. But there's something that people are passionate about. And with people with MS or other chronic illnesses and things, a lot of times they give up the things that they're passionate about. They keep paying the bills. They keep fighting with the neighbor or their spouse or whatever. They keep worrying. They keep the worry, but they give away the fun. That like, well, I have a disease, I have a chronic illness, I can't do that anymore. I can't go camping. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, you know what? Find a way to do it, or find a way to be involved in that activity. If you're a ballerina and you've lost your legs, well, you probably won't be a ballerina again, but you could help out. You could mentor somebody else. You could help. I'm sure you've got experience. I'm sure you've got a lot of knowledge that you could help somebody else in that field. And it'll hopefully will help make you feel better. So find a way to do what you used to do, or find a new activity. Find something new that really just makes you happy, that you're passionate about. I would rather ride a motorcycle in the snow, in the rain, across the George Washington Bridge, in traffic, in 90-degree weather, than take a car anywhere, because I get, I'm so passionate about being on the bike and how it makes me feel. I actually believe riding a motorcycle is part of my therapy for treating my disease.
Yes, let's talk about that. You've actually trademarked a term to describe how you feel about riding being medicine. So tell me all about this term that you've developed.
Well, so moto medicine. And to me, what that means, a lot of people who ride motorcycles say, well, you never see a motorcycle parked outside a psychiatrist's office. So we all know that riding makes us feel good and stuff like that. But I actually believe that riding a motorcycle and doing some other kinetic activities, but riding a motorcycle specific for me, puts me in a zone. It actually puts me, it's like moto mindfulness. And what happens when you ride a motorcycle, actually, when you're driving a car, let's look at when you drive in a car, you're actually looking out a window, your windshield, and you're actually driving through, even if you're going through, Grand Canyon National Forest, whatever, you're looking at a movie. You're watching a movie through this screen. You're in a box, and the box is, as cold or as warm as you want it, because you change your temperature, and you've got your heated seats, and maybe you crack the window a little bit, but you're in a box. You're watching a movie. And when you ride a motorcycle, you're not watching the movie. You're now in the movie. When you move your head or your arms, the whole scenery changes. You tilt your head to the left, and the whole scenery changes. You come over a hill, and you smell the change in temperature. You can smell the rain. You can smell the road. You feel differences. All of a sudden they'll drop 10 degrees in temperature or raise 10 degrees. Watching the sunrise after riding all night is invigorating. Riding a motorcycle takes different parts of your brain that you don't use when you're driving a car, or that you don't use in daily life, because you are, you're more at risk. So your body knows that. So you're sort of in that fight or flight mode, and your body knows that it has to concentrate on one thing. And that one thing is traveling and following the road and watching things around you. So what happens is it allows your brain to push everything else, which is the bad stuff, push all of that stuff away. And you can concentrate on just the what you're doing in the moment. And when I ride a motorcycle, my mind is completely blank of everything except what I'm doing in the moment, and sights and sounds and smells that are right before me. I forget, the fight I just had with my kid, or the problem I'm having at work, or the bill that I'm not sure I'm going to pay, or I forget all that stuff. It just goes away. And my body, I don't get tired on the bike. People say, "Oh, you rode for 10 hours today. Aren't you tired?" Like, no, I'm not. I mean, I felt like I've invigorated.
Sorry to interrupt, but speaking of being on the bike for a long period of time, don't you have some world records? Is it because you've been on the bike so long, or was it distance related?
Well, so in addition to riding a million miles, I do fundraisers. And so I try to find something that will keep people entertained. My original idea to ride 100,000 miles in 100 days was one of my original plans. I think I said a year, but 100,000 miles in 100 days is what I was going to try to do. And the more I thought about it, unless I crashed, nobody's going to follow me after the third or fourth day because it's just going to be boring. Nothing's happening. So I try to find ways to entertain people to raise money. All of the fundraising that I've done has gone to charity. I raised over $100,000, 120, I think, for the MS Society. And now I'm raising money for a company called MS Views and News. They're out of, they do national events all across the United States. They put on patient events, but they're unbranded. So they get some support from the pharmaceutical companies, but they're unbranded. So they can talk about all the different medications. They can talk about all the different treatments. They do a lot of stuff about physical exercise and stuff like that, or how to file and help people work through the disability laws and things like that. So they do a lot of educational events. The fundraising I do, I try to do something that will entertain people and keep them busy. So one of the first things I decided to do was try to set some world records that nobody's done before. And I'm not the fastest guy on the block. I don't know how to do. I'm not a race guy or all these different things. So I'm not going to jump buses or anything like that. So but what I know how to do is ride long distances. I know how to put the miles in. So the first world record that I decided to attempt was the Iron Butt Association. Are you a member?
No, I'm not. Nope.
All right. Do you know how to become a member?
I think so, yeah. My Uncle Terry and Aunt Linda are members. I'm sure they could show me the ropes.
So to become a member, you have to document that you rode 1,000 miles in under 24 hours. Now, somebody like me, that's not a big feat, but for somebody who's never ridden more than 50 or 60 miles around their neighborhood and things, it is a big deal. But if you do it and you document it correctly, you can become a member of the Iron Butt Association. You get yourself a little certificate and things. It is quite the achievement to ride 1,000 miles in 24 hours or less than 24 hours. You have to plan your ride, and you don't stop for a big lunch and stuff like that. But you don't have to speed or anything like that. You can do it in about 16 or 18 hours if traffic is fair to you and the weather's good. So there's quite a few. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of members there are across the United States. So anyway, that's called a saddle soar, 1,000. So that's 24 hours, 1,000 miles. So what I decided to do for my first world record was I wanted to ride a saddle soar 1,000, but instead of doing it on the same motorcycle, I wanted to document switching bikes 100 times.
Wow.
So I set the world record for doing 100 saddle soar, 1,000. So over the course of 24 hours, I swapped bikes 99 times. So 100 different motorcycles. Each motorcycle was documented, the miles that I started, the time I started on it. I rode it back to the same location, grabbed the next bike, did the same thing. So nobody had ever done it before. So I rode 1,000 miles in 24 hours, but I swapped bikes 100 times. And that was a $4,000 or $5,000 fundraiser that I had done. That was, thankfully, I have some friends that own a used motorcycle dealership. And so they let me use 100 of their bikes to do the fundraiser. So that was really cool. My second world record attempt was a little bit, for me, it was a little bit harder, but it was, I've set the record for riding the most amount of hours on a motorcycle in one calendar day. So most people say,
how many is that?
How many do you think?
You know what? I think I saw it on your website, so that's not fair. 28, right?
Yes. So people say 24 hours. That's the most you can do in one day. I said, no, it's not. So because it's a calendar
the time
day.
zones.
Yes. So I started in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is about an hour before the first time zone change. So I started there at midnight. I rode across. I gained an hour. And then I rode across the next time zone, and the next time zone. And I ended up riding, and I did it on the day that we set the clocks back.
No way.
So I started on November 6th, and I finished on November 6th, but I rode 28 hours. So I rode 28 hours in one day. And but it was over 2,000 miles. So it wasn't like it was a wimpy ride. It was 2,000 miles, 28 hours. And I did it on a motorcycle that had 140,000 miles on it when I started. And it was barely running. It had been giving me some trouble. It was pretty well beat. I'm a little rough on my machines. I ride through the snow and winter and everything else. So
I've seen that on your Instagram page.
Yeah, this bike was in pretty rough shape when I started, and I had a brand new bike in the garage that was just waiting to take over. And everybody told me I should take the brand new bike just in case if there was a problem, And I said no. I said this old bike is just like my body. It's like somebody who has MS. I believe it's going to get me through it. I think it's still going to make it. And it was a little rough. Halfway through the ride, it started to, it wouldn't stay running, and I had to keep it running when I was getting gas, and it was running really bad. And I don't take care of my bikes. I don't service them or anything. I just ride them because I'm always on the road. So I'm very rough on my machines. But anyway, the bike finished. The next day, it died.
Oh, geez.
So it set the world record. And that bike is actually down at Barber Motorsports Museum, which is the world's largest motorcycle museum. It's on display where they're helping promote what I'm doing and helping me by putting my bike on display. That was really cool of them to do that for me. So that was my first bike that I started the million on. That's Cure Chaser 1, and I've had Cure Chaser 2. Right now I'm on Cure Chaser 3, and the bike I have right now is a big luxury touring bike by Yamaha, and Yamaha actually donated it to my ride. So they helped me out with the bike and service. I've had it for about a year and a half. It's already got over 100,000 miles on it, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, they're rough miles. I'm very rough on my machines. They don't get put away much, and they don't get taken care of much because I'm always on them. So, and there was one more world record I did, which was just last year, a year ago, March actually. With the new bike is I'm the first person to document riding 24 hours nonstop without getting off the bike, without shutting it off, on a dyno. And a dyno is basically like a treadmill for cars or bikes. It's how they use to measure the horsepower and stuff like that. So it's a big treadmill. So my nonstop to nowhere is what I called it. But I rode 1,600 miles without getting off the bike at highway speeds without leaving somebody's garage. And it was live on Facebook, Jerry Lewis style telethon. And we raised almost $19,000, 24 hours. I was entertaining people while I was riding because I don't have to pay attention to the scenery or what's going on. I'm just cranking the throttle. But I stayed on the bike for 24 hours. We sang. We had visitors come, and we did all kinds of things. I ate bugs, to get people to donate
Paul.
money. I ate. It was. I had a costume change, and it was fun. It was a very cool record. And like I said, we raised $19,000. It was awesome. And now I've got to figure out something to outdo that. So I'm working on that.
You're a good planner. I can tell with that whole 28-hour ordeal. I wouldn't have thought about the time zones and the time change. Combining both of those, that was very clever.
Well, I don't know if any of your listeners have a yacht, but I would also like to be the first person to ride a motorcycle to all 50 states. So I need somebody that I can ride on their boat from California to Hawaii, but I have to travel. The bike has to keep moving on the boat. So it has to be a big boat that I can drive around. Maybe a cargo ship, aircraft carrier, if anybody knows anybody. But
maybe a cruise ship could help you out with that.
Yeah. I bet I can get a deal on a cruise ship right now.
Yeah.
I think I saw one on Craigslist. Yeah. So that's one of my next ideas is I want to ride to Hawaii on a motorcycle. So if anybody can help me out, unless they build a tunnel. I don't know. The tunnel's top secret tunnel they got going. But yeah, being on the bikes so many hours, I tend to think of a lot of silly ideas. And
yes.
Some of them I actually put to paper and they become my next next planned fundraisers.
I wonder if you could revisit the Ural idea with the sidecar, because that's how I got introduced to Ural. I've never had one, but anytime I go to a bike show, the Ural's always got the sidecar attached. I know it's detachable, but anyways, you could do a fundraiser where you do a saddle sore or something with somebody who has MS in the sidecar, and the highest bidder gets to ride with you. That could be cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. It took me many years in therapy to get away from the Ural. I joke whenever I see the people from Ural. There, of course, the company's changed hands a few times, and the bikes definitely are better. They're very unique. I mean, they're very cool looking bikes with a sidecar, and they look military, and they are very cool machines. They're just not known, for their dependability and that type of thing. But I've joked with them a few times, and they want me to get back on one and do some stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. But that's an interesting idea. I'll have to put that down on paper somewhere. Thank you.
There you go. Oh, you're welcome. But what's a more standard way for somebody to donate to MS charities through your brand? Could they go to longhaulpaul.com, or what's a good way to donate?
Yes, if people are motorcycle riders, I do have a couple of motorcycle events that I hold every year. One's called the MS 5000. It's much like an MS walk, but what it is people sign up from all over the country to ride their bikes for 50 days. It's September 1st through October 20th. And they try to collect as many dollars as they can, and they try to ride as many miles as they can. So people get points for how many miles and points for how many dollars. And then we have trophies and things like that. So that's been a pretty cool fundraiser. And then the Iron Butt Association, who has been really good about supporting me, they have a ride that you can do called the MS 1000. And it's a saddle sore 1000. We talked about that. But you can do your saddle sore 1000, become a member of the Iron Butt Association, but they make a donation to the charity I work with in my name. So it's called the MS 1000, and that's you can find that on their site, or ms1000.org.com. Same thing, MS 5000. All of those will lead you to the events. But yeah, my website, longhaulpaul.com, has pretty much all the information there. There is a donate page, and all of the donations that go through the page will go directly to the charity I'm working with, MS Views and News. I do sell some stuff on my website. That money, that does come to me. I try to make, whenever I do events, I try to make all the donations go to the charity. If I'm selling, every year I make a calendar, pictures of places I've been over the last 12 months. And I only make a limited amount, 250 is what I made last year. That money comes to me. I'd make that clear that that's some pocket money, helps fill my gas tank or pay my toll. I'm spending... I think last year was almost $3,000 in tolls
wow.
on my motorcycle. So I've got quite a bit of expenses. So if people want to help me, I do sell some T-shirts and things like that. I have a line of Moto Medicine, T-shirts. And if I'm off my bike, I'm off my meds. That's one of my favorite T-shirts I've made. But also I do have a Patreon account. It took me a couple of years to decide to do that. But I do a lot of my YouTube channel's been growing. People can help me by just subscribing to my YouTube channel, my Facebook page. A lot of the sponsors that I am trying to help get some support from, it's all about how many hundreds of thousands of followers do you have, and that equals money. So if I had, 100,000 YouTube subscribers, that helps with support. You don't make that much money from the YouTube video, but you can make money by people wanting to support you. And I believe that I have a value in what I'm doing. My knowledge, my experience on the bike, my gear reviews, things like that, I think are valuable to the right people. I do, like I said, Yamaha's been helping me out. They've been donating bikes and parts and things. Bridgestone Tires has been donating tires since day one. I go through 10 sets of tires a year, and motorcycle tires are, more expensive, way more expensive than cars, even though there's only two of them. But so I do have some support, but I don't have a lot of financial support. I don't receive checks for going out and riding and representing companies or things like that. And I think hopefully that's where I can earn money. Besides the speaking events, I do speak at, I do a lot of speaking at nonprofits, which, I don't typically earn much money, but I also do it for corporations and things like that. And I think I have a unique story. It's different, and I think that that's one of the reasons I became one of the top speakers at some of the pharmaceutical events across the country for MS drugs and things, is that my story is unique. And like MS, MS, we haven't talked a lot about MS in itself, but it is a neurodegenerative disease that it's autoimmune, where your body is attacking its own brain cells, and in the brain and spinal cord is where the actual damage is. But every single person that gets diagnosed with MS will have different symptoms. We're all different. We all have different outcomes and things like that. So it's different for everybody. And I've been able to speak to I think over 250 patients events all across the United States, and every single one of them I rode my motorcycle to.
That's awesome. What is the response from the MS patients who meet you? What do they think about you? What questions do they ask? It's mixed. I'll always get the people that ride motorcycles. They're always very enthusiastic to meet me and talk. But a lot of other people, will come up to me and again, my story to them is basically find something you love to do in your life and make that more important than your disease. And so that's my story. I don't care if it's knitting or crocheting or whatever it is. Find something that makes you happy and do it or think about it every day. And I'll never forget, I was in a pretty rundown section in Brooklyn, New York. And it was an older population of MS patients. They were, today, typically, you don't see a huge amount of disability in the group of MS patients. Most of them are doing pretty well. They're still ambulatory and that type of thing. But this was a group where almost everybody was either in a wheelchair or a scooter. And I would say the median age was in the 70s. So it was an older group. It was an afternoon event. So that probably kept other working people out. But anyway, the majority of people there were older, and they were in worse shape than a lot of the audience I see. But a woman stood up from her table, and I would say she was close to 90, but she said, "You're right, Sonny, you're right." She says, "I used to play pool when I was younger, and I'm going back to the pool halls, and I'm going to kick some butt." She says, and I'm just looking, going, "Oh my God, this is awesome." And it just hit her that, she had been just kind of not doing what she wanted to do, or something. She remembered something that she used to do that she really enjoyed. And she wanted to get back to it, and I've had multiple people come up to me afterwards, or have heard me speak a few times and say, last time I heard you speak, I decided to start painting again or something. And, I've had people show me their work and things that they've done. And, it's just incredible feeling to know that somebody is listening, and got something from what I'm saying. I just think that there is so much crap in life that we really need to find the flowers, and find the things that make us happy, because we can all dwell on the crappy stuff, and that's not going to help anybody. We just need to figure out something positive to think about, and it's simple, but we need to remind ourselves to do it. Not every day for me is filled with sunshine and flowers. I have some bad days, and I have days where I'm depressed, and I have days where I think I can't do this anymore. I have days where I think it's all over. I have days where I think my body's falling apart. I was in the hospital last week because I thought I had a heart attack. Turns out it's cabin fever from the coronavirus. But I'm glad you're okay. You tend to have a positive outlook, though, and I love that. Can you think of the best thing that's happened since you started your journey of 1,000,000 miles?
the best thing, I actually thought I'd be done by now.
Oh,
But
it's been 8 years, right?
Yeah, going on 8 years. Yeah. No, I think the best thing that's happened to me, I think, is just the fact that I found a way to use my story and my experiences in life to help other people. My dad was a minister, and I think my parents wanted me to be a priest. This is about as close as I'm going to get to helping people, but I do feel like I'm helping people. I think that I'm trying to make a difference, and I think I do make a difference in people's lives, and that to me is an incredible feeling. That I just that's an incredible feeling, just to be able to help other people and know that what I'm doing is important. I think like at whatever I was, 40 something years old, I found my purpose in life. I found what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is it. This is, oh my God, why did I take so long to find it? I found, the reason I'm here. This is, everything is falling into place sort of. And I'm getting to do what I love. I love riding motorcycles. I love traveling. I love doing all that stuff. And, but I'm doing that, through getting diagnosed with a, incurable disease, but it's allowed me to do things that I never would have been able to do. I'm just, I think that's just been so powerful to me, and that's helped me. That helps me every day get through this. It's knowing that what I'm doing is making a difference, and not just under my roof. It's making a difference outside and in the world.
Very cool. I love your mindset. You like to think ability first. And I have a son with autism, and he is part of this, group of kiddos that has the opportunity to work with therapy dogs. And it's at this place called the Ability Center. And one of their mantras is think ability first. And I totally see that with you. And that whole phrase and having a child with a disability has taught me to think ability first in pretty much everything I do. And I see that in you, and I just love it. So you're an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Well, it's even a piece of junk motorcycle has value, right? I mean,
Yes.
Go back to the Ural story. I'm sorry, but it teaches us something. A worn out motorcycle. Most people would walk by it and say that I would never ride that. I wouldn't ride that to the corner store, but I did ride it, and in doing so, it taught me the biggest lesson of my life. And so let's not, we push aside things that aren't latest, greatest, best, 100%. I just think that we can. There's so much value, and there's so many stories out there. There's so many incredible people out there that whether they have a disability or they have a physical or mental impairment, they're still incredible people. They still have, they have huge value, and they can teach us so much about us and life and the world. And they're amazing. We're all amazing. Nobody's perfect. We all have something, but it's not looking at it as a fault. We're looking at it as a positive. That's all. How can we use this, and how can we what can this do? How can this create something new, or joy or fun or happiness, love? We're all capable of that at whatever level we're at, and everybody deserves to be happy. Everybody deserves to enjoy life, and I hope people do.
I love your mindset. That's great. Well, as we wrap this up, I just want to know, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before I let you go?
I think I've said pretty much everything I can think of. I do appreciate it. People follow me. I do a lot of motorcycle touring, and on YouTube, I do videos for of all the places that I go and things like that. And like I said, the more people that do follow me, it does help me with support. If there are people out there that have organizations or companies that are looking for a presenter, I can, tailor I've done talks to bankers and bikers and, all the way in between. So I can do presentations at different events. I just ask people to follow along, Facebook. I do posts on my business page. I try to, the past few weeks with the being stuck at home, I've been posting a picture every day of just some place that I've gone in the past 7 years on my million-mile journey for MS. And if you can donate to one of my charity events, or if you want to support me, I do have a Patreon account now, which helps provide for some of my travel expenses. But the biggest thing is getting people to know about me, follow me, and I like to say, like, share, follow, get the heck out of the way, because I'm on a million-mile mission chasing the cure for MS.
Awesome. Thank you again, Longhaul Paul, for being on the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Be well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
What a great interview. I'm going to point out a little Easter egg for anyone new to the show. I recorded episode 2 of this podcast back in January, a day or two before I met Paul at the Cleveland International Motorcycle Show, otherwise known as my happy place. It's just amazing that we met at a motorcycle show and now we did a podcast together. So thank you so much, Paul. And thank you for listening to episode 21 of the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Please visit thepharmacistvoice.com to subscribe and read the show notes. That's thepharmacist, with an S, voice.com.